All right, I'm broadcasting all the way from council, and of course today is day 2 of council meeting, and I'm here to speak to one of the journalists who actually come to council almost every council meeting to write for News 24. Am I correct? Please, let's introduce you to our audience. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm well. Thank you so much. I'm Alex Patrick from News 24. I am the Metro reporter at News 24. So, spending a lot of time in council.
Okay. How do you find council? How do you find, and why Joburg specifically?
I find council, especially Joburg, to be fascinating.
Really?
It is. So Joburg Council really was the test plate for coalitions. So whatever happened in Johannesburg had a ripple effect in the rest of the country. And so we knew to kind of start in Joburg, looking at Tshwane and Ekurhuleni. So Gauteng really was like the hot seat in terms of those coalitions. And also because they stayed coalitions in Gauteng. So, I find it fascinating.
So what are some of the issues that you've been writing about, that you've picked up around Joburg specifically?
So I think all the issues stem from the same thing, and that's the fact that there are coalitions that don't agree with each other in council.
Yeah.
So the problems are, I think there's been about maybe five mayors in the last 4 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's been since 2019 is really when the council started doing that revolving door.
Yes.
Every time you have a new councillor, you have a new MMC, mayoral committee. So every time you hire a new mayoral committee, they always want their kind of the people they trust in charge. So that means the heads of your water entity, your electricity entity, your rubbish, whatever.
Including the boards.
Exactly. Those guys are all changing. And so for a while, we've had the same mayor for the last year. But for a while, every 6 months, we had a new mayor and a new head of water or whatever. And so the instability in those sectors really came from the instability in the council between the coalitions.
Absolutely. And then, Joburg, we're looking at coalitions. The province, we're looking at the GNU or PNU. National, we're looking at PNU. As a journalist, what do you think is the difference? Is it just words, but the exact same thing? It's still a coalition at the top, still a coalition in the province, or is it just a play of words?
No, I think these coalitions are very interesting, and I think there are coalitions. And my personal belief is this is democracy, really. Instead of having one party in charge, you've got many other parties having an input. You might not like those parties. There may be, like we've seen here, there may be revolving doors. But the thing is that you no longer have one party in charge. I don't think it's just talk. I think we are seeing these coalitions. It's very interesting because in Gauteng, the coalitions here they're not the same as our national coalitions. So in Gauteng, the ANC are still working with the EFF and now Action SA. And obviously nationally, it's the ANC and the DA. So what you see here is this kind of tension between what's happening in the province, and obviously this is our financial hub of the country, so it's very important what happens here. So it's kind of doing its own thing and almost autonomous to the rest of the country. So that's also why I just find this fascinating, this council.
So is it good for the country to not have one party running a government, like a metro like Joburg, a province like Gauteng, and at national as well? Or are coalitions or these GNUs, are they good for the country?
It's my opinion, but I think they are good for the country. I think what happened in Gauteng and why you've had this revolving door is that there were never these clear set rules. Rules like in Tshwane, you can't kind of have a new mayor within 6 months of the last mayor. That never happened here. So I know that there were talks between the ANC and the DA putting these kind of laws and rules in place. I think with a kind of clear guidance, I think that coalitions are a good thing for the country.
Okay. It's the future of politics in South
Yeah,
Africa.
yeah, and widely used in other countries in Europe. You know,
But the instability that it brings with it, is it a concern though? Because as you say, there's been an opening, a revolving door of just mayors and MMCs and executive directors. Isn't that a bad thing though for the country?
it is a bad thing, but the only way to get rid of that is to have those rules in place.
Okay. Like, what would the rules be? Would it be like a policy of some sort that should be an act at national government that should be then cascaded down? Is that how you see it?
I think so. I think it does start with national. I think so.
Because it's not a moon pact type of agreement
Yeah.
like the DA and other parties
Yeah.
that signed that agreement and then they went against it. So
Yeah.
it's not that type. It should be
It
like
needs
an
to
act.
be an act or a law. And I don't know what that would look like, but it would in some way ensure that you didn't have leaders being replaced because of infighting or because they weren't stealing enough or what's happened in the past. You'd have leaders replaced because they weren't doing their jobs.
So let's talk to your audience, News 24. I mean, what type of an audience is your readership?
We have a massive readership. We're very lucky that way, and we have a massive online subscription base. Mostly South African, mostly working professionals. I think from kind of the ages of around 20 to 40 would be the biggest. I'm talking out of turn now,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Okay.
But we do have a very large readership, and it's definitely within the working sector, professional.
And their concerns are obviously what's happening in the metro because they're ratepayers. They stay in the suburbia. They high ratepayers. What is their concerns?
It's service delivery. So
Yeah.
our readers don't care who's in power. We're at the point where you don't care who it is as long as the services are attended to.
Yeah.
They're paying massive tariffs. I mean, electricity went up by 12%, water and sanitation 7%. These are massive tariffs.
They are.
And I think people wouldn't mind paying those if they got their water and if they got their electricity. So I think it's just service delivery, really.
Absolutely. Okay. Any last words for the people of Johannesburg as a trusted journalist who writes for the population that lives in Johannesburg and, of course, Gauteng and the country?
Yeah, I think that you need to understand what is happening in council.
Yeah.
It is very difficult now. They're not allowing residents to come to council. They do have their live online section, but I think residents need to push to be able to come to council. Residents need to know what is happening in council. Right now, they're having an in-committee meeting. We don't even know what's happening right now.
True.
And these are matters that affect everybody. I mean, there's 6 million residents just in Johannesburg, and there's 270 people deciding your fate. So have a say. Just join council, see what's going on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for chatting to me. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
All right, sweet. Thank you.